back in Rhode Island. I haven't been out here in like, I think over 10 years. But I haven't seen you since, well, last time I saw you, I brought my girlfriend at the time, who turned into my wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then, and now I have 2 kids. And I think the last time I saw you was, it was 2011. That's the last time I saw you. It was
Wow.
April
That's
2011.
14 years ago.
Yeah, it's been that
Oh,
long.
my God. It feels like yesterday.
I think I think you're the coolest. You're one of the coolest bosses, supervisors I've ever had. I think, and because of the connections that we had, you knew my mom, you knew my father.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a relationship with my grandmother.
Yeah.
You know, she treated you like like your own
Family.
You sat on the porch.
Yeah.
Took you to the West Indian Parade.
Yeah.
You know, we definitely had a lot of memories. You challenged me in ways where I needed to be challenged, almost like a second father. And those things were important. You know, I value the time I was at AS220. I value you allowing me to do what I needed to do while I was there. AS220 allowed me to explore things that I need to explore because I didn't want to go to the corporate world. I needed to explore at the time. And there's something about culture capital and some of the things I've learned in the grassroots that I value even to today.
Well, if I got it, my memory serves me, which is not great these days. You walked in the door saying, I got ideas, as I recall, you know. And when you're talking about being the coolest boss, it's because I never really wanted to be a boss.
Yeah.
It wasn't my interest, you know. But I had a role to play at AS220 to sort of mediate, manage, and be accessible and help, encourage, and give people the opportunity and the confidence that they not only should they dream, but that there are steps that can be taken to come to realize those dreams. And it's just a matter of opportunity and resources. And it doesn't take a lot. What did you get? You know, you became AmeriCorps and got like $600 a month or something pay, if that.
It was $399.
$399
at the highest. I mean, I got $5,000, close to $5,000.
Educational.
Yeah, for my loans, but per month. I mean, but I had a good system. I had you. I had the organization, and my parents would still help, even though I did what I needed to do.
Yeah. So I mean, what we all created with AS220 and the community that was involved and engaged, everybody played a critical role. Mm-hmm. Like I played a role in the context of that organization. You played a role. You started Hip Hop 220 at AS220. I certainly couldn't have done that. I didn't have any credibility in that arena other than the fact that I welcomed people in and said, well, do it. You know, yeah, I get it, but I don't know anything about it, so you're going to have to educate me. So, you know, it's people like you and what at the time was called Shockmaster Laz, who's Derek, who like took it upon themselves to educate me. You know, there was another gentleman that did a thing called Unity in the Community in the original space, Abdul Martin.
Okay.
He was another one that was very gracious in terms of educating me onto, you know, hip hop culture and things like that. So it is the sum of its parts, you know, in the truest sense. And nobody's contribution to AS220 can be underestimated. And certainly yours is indelible. It's still part of the culture of AS220, what you brought and what you created there. So this has been great seeing you. I don't feel like a day went by in terms of how we're interacting and how easy it is to be with you.
Yeah, definitely, because I think we were in the trenches, you know, together. A lot of things learned, you know, from the training school where we started with the karaoke
machine.
Yeah, at the end, the ciphers, and that took me to first time becoming a teaching artist. I didn't even know what I've been a teaching artist before I even knew what a teaching artist was.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, and I
knew.
Yeah, but the thing is, like nowadays when I go to certain people and said, you know, you have this thing called content creators, and then when I looked up the definition of it, I said, I've been a content
There you
creator,
go.
before I even knew what that was.
Absolutely.
And I used to make. I was using Photoshop before Photoshop was even a thing.
Yeah.
Because we had it at the space.
Yep.
Tech was there. He was using Photoshop. I was like, "What's this?" I leaned over and I started learning how to use Photoshop. And I learned a lot of skills at AS220. I learned how to use a soundboard.
Yep.
And I learned how to record. All these different skills that you need now in this digital world. I learned it at AS220 doing it. I tell people all the time. I was literally. My first flyers were cut and paste. My man will draw something, I cut it out, I paste it to a paper, go to the copy
Xerox,
machine,
and
make 4 of them, and that's how we used to do stuff, just to get the word out about our shows, literally doing cut and paste. But a lot of those skill sets we learned at AS220, definitely on the stage, learning how to rap, learning how to, perform, you being in the audience, and supporting that, but also guiding it in a way saying this is how it has to be done. This is how you have to do arts and commerce, and we're here today. This is in your space. You're about to do a show, in Waterfire's spot, and
Wilbury Theater,
and just arts and commerce working together, being independent, and even at this age that you're doing it is still inspiring, because it's like, wait a second, he started an organization, he left the organization. The organization is still thriving, and he's still doing his art.
Yeah.
On a high level.
Yeah. And I feel it's a privilege, like you're talking about access to certain tools at AS220. Not every kid in this world or in this country or in this city has those opportunities. There's so many young people that are left behind because they just don't have opportunities or exposure,
access,
whether it be to tools or culture or whatever. And that is a sad statement about a country that's supposed to be so well off and so powerful, and it can't provide for its own in ways that allows them to maximize their potential.
Yeah.
And we're all better off when an individual has the opportunity to maximize their potential. It's good for all of us, So yeah.
So obviously, I'm doing the show on September 26th, the Art of the Emcee, and I called it the Art of the Emcee because being an MC and a rapper is one thing, but there's a lot of moving parts to become it. And one of the things I tell people, I just wanted to rap, but because I wanted to rap, I had to learn all the ecosystem of that. I had to do flyers. I did, all the things I just named. I had to do all those different things.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to be there because you'll be doing this show.
Yep. Unfortunately.
So hopefully I'll be able to show this that night. And what would you want to say? Because part of the reason why I'm doing the show, especially in September, is to celebrate 25 years since I started Hip Hop 220. And you did say some things about the importance of what we did, but how important was the Hip Hop 220 program to AS220?
Let's be clear, there's a lot of division between cultures, between races. It's an extreme challenge to build the bridges that allow us to work together and to create together. So being, Portuguese, Italian descent from a working class immigrant family, that comes with its own set of experiences and beliefs, but it's not Black culture and what Black culture brings to the table. I can't be the one to generate that. I don't have the credibility or the experience or the knowledge. So for someone like yourself, Kareem, to come into AS220, you didn't just bring Kareem, you brought a culture with you into the organization. And the more diversity, the more interconnectedness between cultures, the more powerful an organization or a community can be, But it takes credible people to bring that into the mix, And for all of my efforts to be inclusive and ensure diversity at AS220, I could only take that so far, And it took individuals like you to really allow AS220 to become all of that and embrace a variety of cultures. There's no denying both the strength and power of black culture and specifically hip hop culture, and its influence not on just the Bronx, its influence worldwide.
Worldwide.
I couldn't bring that into AS220. I didn't have that knowledge, that background, or credibility. You want to talk about European art? I could talk to you about it all day long, or the Italian Renaissance. You want to talk about the Italian, but so I actually would say that, particularly in these times, bridging communities is tantamount to survival. Divisions and separation only serves people like Donald Trump. Us coming together, we can destroy him in a minute, and we can undermine his authority and power in a minute if we're capable of bridging our own differences in our own communities.
Gotcha.
And it takes people who have credibility within those genres or that community to be able to make that happen. And it takes courage. I mean, someone coming into a community that doesn't look like them and being the maverick and one of the people to help make all that happen, it takes courage, stepping into environments that are not 100% something you're necessarily familiar with, whoever it is, takes a certain amount of courage, The rewards, if you're capable of bridging those things, are remarkable and extremely powerful.
One thing we talked about many different things. We've been talking all day. Two things we talked about, without me doing what I did, and then bringing in somebody like a Tech and a Suave.
Yeah.
That led to bringing in Angel.
Sure.
And what she's become is, I always look at a remarkable thing to go from dancing with Missy Elliott songs. There's nothing wrong with Missy Elliott, but just she came in very commercial hip hop culture to doing now underground emceeing, and it's like the other day I saw a post from her. It's like, where the rappers at? I used to pull up a spot, 30 MCs hungry.
That's right,
right. And now I don't see that no more.
I saw that post.
Yeah, and now she's still the head of her organization, got kids, and she's showing up at a spot.
Yeah.
And say, I want to rap.
And she walked in the doors at 14 years old.
14 years old, now run a whole organization.
Yeah.
But that's because I stepped up and said something. I wanted to do something. You allowing that, and then others felt comfortable. I could come to AS220. And then when I look at the videos and stuff like that, and I see the big performances, I see so much diversity. It's just so amazing. But one of the other things that we talked about too is the power of owning your space. We're in a space that they own. AS220 owns their space, owning your stuff and figuring out how to do it, but also keeping your values.
That's absolutely true, and it's challenging on a day-to-day basis. Keeping the money flowing and paying the bills and managing real estate and properties is extremely challenging. And but to own your space and not necessarily be subject to the forces of gentrification and the sort of capitalist motives of profit is a huge part in sort of building a kind of cultural infrastructure that can endure, that is resilient, and that is generative, that keeps generating new young people, new ideas, all which is critical to, I believe, a healthy community and a healthy society.
Let me ask you a question, because you're a person from Providence. It would have been easy for you to say, I want to do my artwork, I'm trying to get out, I want to go to Boston, I want to go to New York, but you're here. You're still here, being grassroots. And I kind of have the same feeling because, occasionally, me and my wife, we'll talk about moving out of the Bronx and doing stuff. But the way I see my kids, my kids end up going to school in the South Bronx schools, something I it's not like I dreamed. Like, why would we go to school in Southport? It just happened, and but I feel a strong sense of still feeling like I need to be in the community. I still need to be close to certain things because not so much I want, like, you know, in hip hop culture, oh, I want to be down from the project. Or no, it's not because of that. Just because of proximity, being ready to be like, I'm here for you, grassroots. How important was that, you know, saying, doing your artwork, but doing it in the community? And like we talked just recently, you know, this is a full circle moment for you because your father worked in some of these
mills right here in this neighborhood.
And this is a former mill that's now art space.
Yeah.
So how important is that for you to stay, because you still have the same house, still in the community.
Yep.
It'll be easy for you to say, I want to move to New York. I'm going to move to LA. I could go here because you've been so many places.
Well, I was headhunted. I mean, I was headhunted for a job in Boston that would have paid about 4 times as much money as I was making at AS220.
Wow.
And I turned it down for a variety of reasons. You know, I always was of the belief, you know, where I saw artists from Providence heading to Boston and New York and then returning in 3 or 4 months because they had to work 4 part-time jobs just to pay their rent, you know? And so I was always of the belief, make it. What is it you want? Make it happen right where you are. Every community, I don't care if it's urban or rural or in whatever country, that potential resides within human beings to be able to create healthy and positive communities within their own thing. There are people who in the most horrific conditions, have still built community and provided art and culture as an opportunity to process what they might be going through. You know, it's art and culture, and it doesn't matter, and it's what helps us identify with each other and helps us share. And it doesn't matter where that is. The thing that pushes against that is the idea of commercial success, fame, these kinds of societal norms that we are all supposed to be aspiring to. Well, first of all, it's like wanting to be a Major League Baseball player. You know, there's like 1/10 of 1% of people who play baseball are ever going to, if that, you know, are ever going to be there. And it's like, I remember when we would be at the training school and some kid, you know, he's writing lyrics and he's determined he's going to be the next great hip hop artist and everything like that. And I said, listen, I'm going to date myself. I can't promise you're going to be the next 50 Cent, but I know where there's a recording studio you can access.
Yeah.
Right? That's the next step, you know, to get to any of it, you know. And we would provide those resources.
I remember having the 4-track. I remember I used to have the 4-track, or then we got that Yamaha. I remember one time it was snowing. I promised the kids to go, and I showed up, and they were like, "You showed up in the snow with this 4-track," and you know,
you did.
Yeah, I did. But I remember one time I had a 4-track and James McNamara. You know, James.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I literally recorded him at his bedside, a track that we had to do, and we played it on the radio because we had a connection to the radio.
Yep.
And but they live for those moments.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, and it forms us. You know, it gives us confidence. It gives us a belief in ourselves. You know, there are so many different things in society that try to repress the individual. You know, to go along, to get along. You know, and the counterforce to that is opportunities for people to be able to express themselves and grow within their own expression and their own identity. You know, build that identity for themselves. And it just takes, and it doesn't take much. What did we give you? You hardly got paid anything as an AmeriCorps. You had a karaoke machine to take out to training school. You had a 4-track recorder, you know, and yet you built a program that still lives in a sense, and your legacy still exists at AS220. So it really doesn't take much. I remember being in Auckland, New Zealand, and I wanted to know where the underground artists were and stuff. And they brought me to a kid who was doing some art programming in the basement of a former now empty department store in the downtown. And what he was doing wasn't 100% legal. But they brought me there, and I told him, I said, I'm meeting with the City Council of Auckland tomorrow. Do you want me to mention you? Because I know what he was doing was underground. I don't know if he wanted to. He goes, no, please. He says, I'm getting tired. I need help. You know? And I remember making a pitch to them saying, do you know what $10,000 would do for this kid? $10,000 is nothing to you. But what it would be to him, it would take him to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You know? That's how small an investment it would take on your part to help nurture something that's alive and that is generating more art, more artists, more leaders. You know, I left Auckland. I have no idea if there was any follow through with any of it, but that's.
But isn't that the story of AS220?
Absolutely.
Like you started something illegal, but then like they saw the genesis, the idea, and then you got help?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the government does the same thing because you can't get something trademarked now unless they see it in commerce.
Right.
So like the Bronx MC, my rap name is a trademark. You know, I trademarked it, but they had to see it in use before it is. You know,
it was legitimate.
And that's the way I think people are. The words the Bible says. You know, faith comes by not. You know, it's better to believe without seeing. But the way the world is, they like to see.
Right.
You know, and they have to see it happen. And be like, well, we've been doing this already. You catching up to something.
Right.
Right. So similar to your show, like they're coming into your basement, but you've been doing this.
That's right.
So by the time they come to this experience, this is just natural for us because we've been communing like this forever.
Yep. Love you, brother.
You too.
Yep.